Hello everyone, and welcome to this Light-O-Rama tutorial. In this video, we'll talk about the default layout of the Light-O-Rama RGBPlus sequences so that you can set up your physical display without having to make any modifications to the sequences or RGBPlus preview. This video will provide an overview of what props are on each network by default. It does not cover altering networks or unit IDs for pixel props. The required unit ID settings for each set of pixel props is listed on the Light-O-Rama website. The RGBPlus layout has a mixture of AC elements, meaning traditional strands of Christmas lights are used for those channels. It also has RGB floodlights, singing faces, and almost 100 smart RGB props. The RGBPlus sequences use 4 networks, which means that if you want to use every prop included in the layout, you'll need a 4-port N4 G4 MP3 director or 4 USB 485 high-speed adapters. If you don't have every element, you might be able to use a smaller director or fewer USB 485 adapters, depending on which elements you specifically have in your display. On your computer, the first 4 networks are referred to as regular, aux-A, aux-B, and aux-C. On a Showtime director, this translates to Network 1, Network 2, Network 3, and Network 4. All networks in an RGBPlus sequence must be set to 500K speed and enhanced in order to work. Remember these crucial settings when building your SD card. The regular network, or Network 1, contains all of the AC elements in the layout. If you only have a mini director or one USB 485 high-speed adapter, you'll be able to run all of the lights on this network without any sequence modifications. AC elements are your traditional strands of Christmas lights and are commonly the first type of light someone will use when getting started with a display. If all you have are traditional Christmas lights, you'll still have a great show if you purchase an RGBPlus sequence, and you won't have to pay extra for new sequences later on when you start to add in smart pixel elements over time. It's all right there in your RGBPlus sequence as you grow. Visit the Light-O-Rama website for recommendations about how to best organize the 4 full AC controllers or 64 channels, plus 4 channels of strobes, in order to have to make as few modifications to the sequences as possible before they're ready for use. This regular network, or Network 1, also contains effects for a set of 8 10-watt floodlights sold in the Light-O-Rama floodlight package, as well as 8 of the 50-watt floodlights. The 50-watt floodlights are hidden in the preview since they're drawn in the same place as the 10-watt floods, but don't worry, the sequences will still output effects to both sets of lights. Light-O-Rama singing faces are also included on this first network. The version 2 faces with 10 mouth movements are shown in the preview, but similar to the 50-watt floodlights, the version 1 faces with 4 mouth movements are hidden right behind these faces. RGBPlus sequences will output effects to either set. Please see the instructions that come with your 10-mouth face for information about making the version 2 face sing with 4 mouth movements to match a previous collection of version 1 faces. The last items on the regular network, or Network 1, are 2 pixel trees and 2 tree toppers. The 16 by 25 pixel tree has 400 pixels with a 50 pixel star on top, and the 16 by 50 pixel tree has 800 pixels with a 50 pixel star on top. The 16 by 25 pixel tree is set up as a 360 degree tree, and the 16 by 50 is configured as a 180. If you have a 2-network N2 G4 director or 2 USB 485 high-speed adapters, you'll be able to additionally use the elements on Network 2, also known as aux-A, without making modifications. The props included on this network are 4 snowflakes, 4 spinners, 4 candy canes, 8 mini trees with stars, 8 mini arches, and 40 pixel stakes. The majority of the smart RGB props are located on this second network. If you connect any of these props to your first network without modifying the network settings in the preview, such as on a mini director that only has 1 network, you will not see any effects for your physical props since they are set to Network 2 by default in the sequences. Using props on Network 3 or aux-B requires that you have an additional USB 485 high-speed adapter or a 4-network N4 G4 director. Light-O-Rama does not sell a director with only 3 network ports. The smart pixel props included on this third network are 4 roofline segments, 4 frames, which you can use to frame windows, fences, railings, or anything else in a rectangular outline shape, and a smart pixel matrix with 800 pixels. These are the only 3 sets of elements included on this network. Connecting any of these props to a different network without modifying the preview means that no effects will play on these props in your physical display since the network settings won't match. The final network, aux-C or network 4, contains only one set of props: the 32x50 360-degree pixel tree plus the 50-pixel tree topper. This tree is hidden behind the 16x50 tree in the preview. Unless you have this tree and star in your display, you will not need to use the 4th network. If you ever need a reminder of what props are on which networks by default, take a look at the grid view options of any RGBPlus sequence. By default, the grid view will be set so that you see the full layout, but you can select this drop-down menu and change to any network's grid view to see which pixel props are included. Altering these grid views will not change the network the props are on. It's a setting that must be changed in the preview. And that's all for this tutorial. Visit the Light-O-Rama website for more information about purchasing RGBPlus sequences.